Hello and welcome to the first in my new tutorial series, Track from Scratch on the Sonicware Liven XFM. In the first episode, I'm going to try and convey what I'm hoping to achieve with this tutorial series, moreover what you'll get out of it, to describe the process that will follow and give something of an overview of how this is going to work. So let me start by saying I'm not planning on making a great track here. I'm not planning on making something that everyone will want to listen to. What I'm planning on doing is demonstrating an end-to-end process where we start with the device as it was received out of the box. We use only factory presets and only the panel controls. We don't dive into the FM editing, don't use any of my own presets. And at the end of it, we end up in a state where we can hit play and an entire end-to-end track will play. I'll describe a little bit about how I hope to achieve that. So let me turn the device on and we can get started. So the first thing worth noting is what this is. This is a groove box. This is an FM synthesizer. It has 6 voices, each with 4 operators. And they are usable across 4 timbres and sequenceable through 4 sequencer tracks. Each track can be between 1 and 64 steps in length, and each step can represent between 1 4/4 bar and 1 32nd of a 4/4 bar, also known as a 30-second note. These can be different lengths and they will play in polymeter against one another. You can also use different divisions per sequence, so you can get things which sound like polyrhythms playing. One thing to note is that the voices, we only have 6, and we have 4 tracks, so that's an average of 1.5 voices available per track, so you have to be careful about how you allocate them. So first I'm going to describe how I'm actually going to allocate the voices in a way that makes sense. Firstly, track number 1, I'm going to place my chords down here. Why do I place the chords on 1 and not 4 or any other voice? Well, any other track. That is because the higher tracks always take priority over the lower tracks. In the way that I configure this, I'm going to have my lead on track 4 because I never want to steal a voice from the lead. I'm going to put my drums on track 3. Again, ideally, I don't really want the drums to disappear because they keep the rhythm moving. I'm going to have a bass on track 2, and I'm going to have my chords on track 1. Theoretically, that's because if, for whatever reason, a voice was being stolen, I would rather one of the chord tones be taken than one of the key rhythmic elements or key melodic elements disappear. I'm going to enforce this to a slightly greater degree by selecting different voice modes per track. Given that we have 6 notes in total and I need at least 1 note per part for these upper 3, I actually only have 3 notes available for my chords. So I'm going to have to remember I can only play 3-note voicings. I can't play extended voicings. I can't play 6 8-note chords. Not available to me. So track 1, voice mode is going to be polyphonic. I hope this illustrates how I'm going to approach this. I'm not going to enumerate the features of the device. I'm not going to talk about everything that it can do. I'm not going to demonstrate the features in isolation. I'm going to refer to each feature of the device and I'm going to use it in the context of making music. I hope this will make it more digestible and more understandable. So track 2, I said I want this to be a bass line. A bass line to me will be monophonic. We have 2 choices for monophonic. We have monophonic and legato. Legato means that if I play notes legato, the envelopes are not going to retrigger. I think that's preferable for a bass line, so I'm going to set this part to legato. Track 3 is going to be my drum part. This is going to be using the patch locking, which is part of the parameter locking feature set of this device. You could leave this polyphonic and it would allow the individual drum sounds theoretically to overlap, but when you are patch locking, it will change the patch, including the sound of any existing notes that are playing, because there is only one timbre per track. So it doesn't really make sense to have these overlapping. So I'm going to choose monophonic here because legato doesn't make sense because these are triggered percussive events. Track 4, this is going to be my lead. I think when playing a lead line, it probably makes the most sense to go legato. In the next episode, I'm going to go through the process of selecting these sounds, but for now, I've just set these modes. The reason that I wanted to set these up front is I wanted to describe what the overall process is going to look like here. So after I've selected my sounds, I'm going to play the sounds in, and I'm going to be making a track which is going to have 3 sections. I'm going to refer to those as an A, a B, and a C section. And in the end, I want to arrange my song structured in A, B, C, A form. So I'm going to make 3 loops, which I'm then going to arrange and modify to make a full track. Well, how am I going to manage that on this device? So as I said, patterns can be 64 steps long, but there is a feature called pattern chaining. Pattern chaining is available by pressing the pattern button twice. It turns orange. Now, if I press a series of buttons corresponding to a series of patterns, when I hit play, these will be played in order. So what I'm going to do, therefore, is select my sounds. I'm going to play in my first loop for my A section, then my B section, then my C section. I'm going to place them in the last 3 pattern slots in this bank. Once I'm happy with them broadly, I'm going to pattern chain them and listen to them together and decide, does this make sense? Am I happy? Logically, I'm thinking A is going to function as more like a chorus or a refrain. B is going to be something like the verse, of which there will only be one, and C is going to be a bridge. Now remember, I'm not limited to the patterns in one bank when I'm pattern chaining. We have access to 8 banks, each containing 16 patterns, so I could make a much longer song structure, but I think fitting it in one bank is convenient. The actual arrangement I'll do when I've written my A, B, and C parts is probably the first 3 patterns are going to be A, the next 4 are going to be B, the next 5 are going to be C, and the final 4 are going to be A again. So A is going to be functionally the intro and the outro, B will function as a verse, and C, as I said, will function as a bridge. It would be perfectly possible for me to select different sounds for each of these parts, do relatively complicated sound design, but my intent is to make this fairly straightforward, meaning I'm going to make one selection of 4 possible sounds. The drums I may vary because I'm using the patch locking feature, and I'm going to keep those in place across the entire song. What I might change is I might change some of the sound design related parameters as we proceed. So once I've placed my A sections, my B sections, my C sections, and my A sections, I'm going to arrange. What I mean by arrangement here is create a contour for the track. So I'm guessing I'm going to do something like a build up across the initial A, then I'm probably going to do something like a breakdown across the B section, then I might drop into the bridge, and the bridge might break down and then build up again or something, and then I'm going to have a breakdown to the final part of the song in the final A section. So the contour is going to be defined by going in predominantly deleting notes from the parts that I don't need, and occasionally I might play in another line just to add some variation. Occasionally I'll adjust some sound design parameters. I may come in and add some automation for additional variation, but on the whole I'm not going to go too in depth in refining the sounds here. So I hope that that describes the intent of what I'm going to do. Hopefully, in going through this process, I'm going to illustrate a whole range of features that this device supports in actual context of building a song, which will allow you to utilize them when building your own songs. So I think I will say goodbye for now, and I will see you again in the next episode, where I will select the sounds I'll use for my song and get set up to start actually composing. Thanks for watching, everyone, and goodbye.